What's going on? What are you up to? How many times do we use that refrain? And people do it with us. Oh, what are you doing? What are you up to? What that's saying is that where is your attention at out in the world? Where's your outward attention? And that's important and noteworthy. But what about your inward character development? That is also noteworthy, though clearly not something you want to share with everybody and their brother. That's fine. So in this video pertaining to the subject of the truth sheet, where we're getting to the truth of our life and we're writing down the important parts of it, we want to identify what the primary areas of outward attention, out in the world stuff that's interesting and necessary and priorities, as well as what's the inward character development. And both lists have got to be short. Like, I would suggest not more than 3 things on either of them. So the outward focus is about where you want to center your attention. And you could perhaps think of it as a triangle, that each side perhaps impacts the others or is correlated to them in some way. And perhaps as one area gets resolved, it helps to resolve another. And you can always put something else on the list then, because you just took something off the list. And then where do you want to improve on the inside? Where's your character development? What's going on with that? And who do you talk to about that? Very important. So let's use some examples from my clients about, first of all, the outward attention. One said more creativity, ability for duplication, and a stable home life. Those were their 3, okay? And the creativity represented an important force in their life because that's what their job was about. And they felt like they needed to be a little bit more inspired around their creativity and generate more ideas and things of that nature. Duplication centered on improving the elements of their work where they could delegate things to others and increase productivity and profitability as a result. And the stable home life reflected their desire to feel settled in a new residence that they had purchased. Here's another one. Writing jobs, finished college degree, trip to Europe. The writing jobs offered the possibility of changing careers, something of interest to this particular person. Finishing college represented some unfinished business in their life, and the trip to Europe was long a goal, and it also meant getting their finances in order so they could afford to take the trip and not be in the poorhouse when they got back. So let's think about what things out in the world are important to you. And we'll just start with 3. And if you're feeling a little overwhelmed this 5 minutes, I suggest you start with some low-hanging fruit. Something easier to get your arms around. Leave the big kahuna for down the road a minute, okay? All right, so let's talk about inward character development. One client said this: setting boundaries, working on their authority issues, and delaying gratification. Well, just those statements alone tells you a lot about what that person is dealing with on the inside. And the setting of the boundaries absolutely dovetailed into having authority issues. And they were absolutely hampering their personal and professional life. Then there was the delaying of the gratification, because they were starting to engage in more forward thinking and future planning. And this was becoming more of a focus because they had been married for some years now and were going to start a family. So some things had to be put off so we could focus on what's right in front of us. Another one speaking of inward character development, this client said, communicate better, pace myself, and develop more patience. And they felt if they could communicate better, they would create fewer incidences of being misunderstood. And she wanted to pace herself because she was up against burnout a lot. So she had to modify a little bit that way. And she wanted to have more patience in her relationships because there was a lot of, well, drama that she knew could be avoided if she'd just be a little more patient. So, one more. Inward character development. Client said spiritual practice, doing what I say and being on time, and thinking before speaking. So this person wanted to develop a closer relationship with God and their spiritual practice. And they also wanted to be on time more often so that they could be depended on by others. And they wanted to think a little more before speaking because they had a bit of an impulsiveness and they would often regret what they said. Sound familiar? Hopefully not, but possibly. So there's a great model of psychology, Abraham Maslow's model of self-actualization. What I liked about Maslow was he studied successful people. So Freud and others like him, they studied neurotic people, people that, well, they had a lot of feasance going on, but not Maslow. Maslow studied very successful people in different parts of life and the human experience. And he talked about that personal growth centered around ongoing choices and decisions you make to discover talents, capabilities, and values. And this takes you beyond what he called deficiency motivation, which seeks to obtain something you lack. It's like when you go without food, you develop hunger. And there's a tension around the hunger. And you satisfy it by eating. And growth motivation, that would be more like target or goal-based, concerns fulfilling your potential and enriching your quality of life and those around you. And that motivation involves character growth to go along with self-expression and maturation. So in considering constructing your truth sheet, what are you working on? Oh, almost gave you the homework before the homework bell. Sorry. Yeah, in consideration of what you're working on. What is it? On the inside and on the outside. So let's be safe and have fun and get something done. Like and subscribe to the channel. Got lots more videos. Let's keep going. See you around like a donut.